100 burpees. Hi. Hi. Well, you know it's burpee time, don't you? You know what time it is. What time is it? What time is it? It's burpee time. Get your ball. Where's your ball? Now get your ball. Hey, good boy. Did you move the camera? Let's go.
The resulting chaos caused riots, civil unrest, and even deaths. Reporting this story took over a year and resulted in me flying to Manila in the Philippines to meet unlucky winners and to find out exactly what happened back then in the 1990s.
There we go.
My name is Jeff Maish. I'm a journalist based in Los Angeles. I wrote the story for Bloomberg Business Week, Pepsi's number fever campaign. The Philippines is a really interesting country, made up of thousands of islands, and it's also a country that's very heavily influenced by American culture. As everywhere you look in the Philippines, there's a sense of Frank Sinatra music, for example. They love all things American, and that extends to their love for soft drinks, Pepsi, Cola, Coca-Cola. In the 1990s, it was everything. Pepsi and Coca-Cola were embroiled in what is now known as the Cola War. It was a fierce battle for market dominance. Number fever was already a really popular promotion. It had been rolled out in America to great success. And so Pepsi decided to roll it out internationally, particularly in Asia. They thought it was the answer to their problem. They thought it could finally help them beat the biggest competitor. $1 million pesos, or $68,000, doesn't sound like a lot now. But in 1992, that was a phenomenal amount of money. You've got to remember that in the Philippines at the time, the average monthly income was about $100. So $1 million pesos was wealth beyond anyone's wildest imagination. Number fever caught fire in the Philippines. Kids were saving up their pocket money to buy a bottle of Pepsi. Parents were squirreling away all of the bottle caps in bags. You would walk down the street and people were going through trash trying to find discarded bottle caps. It was a national phenomenon. Pepsi boasted that half the population of the Philippines was buying it. Number fever boosted Pepsi sales every month from $10 million to $14 million. A huge impact on Pepsi consumers. Number fever quickly became number hysteria. Marines were being jailed for stealing their employers' winning bottle caps. There was even some murders over winning bottle caps. People were fighting in the streets.
You gotta give it to me.
There were signs that there were going to be problems with number fever very early. Pepsi had rolled out the competition in Chile, and garbled facts had caused some kind of problem with the winning number. They announced the wrong one in Chile, causing riot. There were signs that there could be big problems ahead if
Whoa.
So in 1992, Pepsi decided to extend the campaign in the Philippines and they announced that the competition was going on for a few more weeks. One night, on the television news, they announced the latest winning number, 349. The problem was, 349 had already been allocated as a non-winning number in earlier campaigns. So there were literally hundreds of thousands of bottle caps with 349 just floating around the Philippines. Hundreds of thousands, all across the Philippines, thousands of homes, were finding winning bottle caps. 349, 349. Some people had 10 lucky 349 bottle caps. People were dancing in the streets, celebrating. They thought their problems were over. They were millions. It's still not certain exactly how many winners there were of lucky 349 bottle caps, but we know that Pepsi printed over 600,000 of them. Pepsi realised very early that there was a problem. Hundreds of people started arriving at their bottling plants with their lucky bottle caps. They realised something was seriously wrong. Pepsi tried to solve the problem by offering a small token donation to anyone that brought a lucky bottle cap to their bottling plant. But it wasn't enough.
Where is it?
People didn't want just a handful of pesos. People wanted their million peso prize. Within a year, violent protests and riots outside Pepsi factories would leave dozens injured and 5 people dead.
Where's the ball?
At one Pepsi factory in the Philippines, a grenade was thrown through the window. It killed 3 Pepsi employees. Anacita Rosario was a school teacher living in Manila in the Philippines. She was one of the tragic victims of this whole thing. She was walking to a nearby store to buy some rice one day when a Molotov cocktail was thrown at a Pepsi truck in a violent protest. It bounced under the truck and exploded. It killed her and an innocent bystander who was just a child and injured many others. When I was in the Philippines, I tracked down Anacita's daughter, Cindy, and her husband, Raul. It was clear to me that they were still very upset by the whole thing. You know, the family had been
The burpees.
by this competition.
Burpees, baby.
Raul told me that he'd never remarried.
What's that?
Told me that he'd gone to meet Pepsi executives after his wife was killed. And he was angry. He said to them, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for number fever. The biggest revelation from my reporting was rumours that Pepsi was somehow involved in bombing their own tribes. I found a newspaper report with a headline that said, Pepsi goons bomb their own tribes. And when I visited the NBI, the police in the Philippines, they presented me with documents and interviews with people who claimed that Pepsi had paid them to cause riots and to cause trouble outside their plant in order to destabilise the situation and to frame the
20 more burpees. I think
fighting to try and curry favour. I just thought that was so shocking, and of course Pepsi denied it. But how bizarre that a company would be accused of bombing their own truck. The contest had sparked so much anger in the Philippines because it landed at just this really weird time in the Philippines' history. It was during a crazy election that was racked with allegations of fraud. The Philippines was in a kind of love-hate relationship with America. They loved, obviously, the American aid and finances that was pouring into the country, but at the same time they yearned for independence. They wanted to be their own country. Vicente Del Fierro was a local preacher living in Manila, and he hated the number fever campaign. Del Fierro thought Pepsi's number fever campaign was just one of the many ways that America was asserting its dominance over the third world country. He hated seeing his fellow countrymen get ripped off in his book by this huge multinational American company who wanted justice. Del Fierro rounded up over 800 winners of 349 bottle caps. He got them all together to sue Pepsi for over $400 million to be divided between those holders of lucky bottle caps. Del Fierro took money from some of the people who could afford it, and they paid him 500 pesos to help with legal fees. But for people who couldn't afford the money, he would just represent them pro bono. He flew to America and he hired two consumer lawyers here in America to take on Pepsi. He had a meeting at Pepsi's headquarters to try and resolve the problem, but he said he wanted to take it all the way to the highest courts in America. When those cases were heard in America, those courts decided that this was a problem that should be heard in the Philippines, not in America. Back in the Philippines, Del Fierro continued his case in the Philippine courts. At one stage, there were arrest warrants handed out for 9 Pepsi Cola executives, which he saw as a big victory. We don't know if those arrest warrants were ever upheld, but it made newspaper headlines across the country. Pepsi did not take kindly to Del Fierro's campaign. They tried everything to shut him down. They sued him for libel.
My father had to attend 3 times a month
Okay, we're
for
done.
branch 145 and another hearing
Come
for
say bye.
branch 138. Also,
Come say bye to your people.
also there was a time my father was
Thanks for joining us.
who do heart
I lost track.
I
I know I did over 100.
Branch hearing. Otherwise, for not attending the judge will issue warrant.
Have a good one.
My father
See you Monday.
passed away January 30th, and after staying for almost 1 year in the hospital, he died of complications with a heart failure. After the death of my father, I was inspired to do the website. Pepsi will be remembered for what they did to the consumer in the Philippines and to my father.
When I reached out to Pepsi for comment in this story, they claimed that they didn't have access to anyone who was working at Pepsi that was around in those days. They also said that during COVID-19 they didn't have access
Hey,
to
good boy.
documents.
How excited you are.
You know, they
Yeah.
were very careful to
Don't rip that up.
they were
No.
sorry for everything that happened. And we do know that Pepsi did try everything to try and make this right. The Pepsi number fever disaster
No.
cost the company
Move.
We
Move.
know that they paid up to
Move.
$10 million in those goodwill payments. But the financial effect could be
Move.
much greater. After the disaster, we know that Pepsi sales dipped. They were overtaken by Coca-Cola again. Pepsi's number fever disaster changed the legacy of that soft drink in the Philippines forever. Some people of a certain age won't touch it. For many people, Pepsi is a taboo word. A lot of the people that I spoke to were still quite traumatized by their experience, by that experience of winning 1 million pesos, losing it, and then returning to their normal life in poverty in Manila.
And I'm